behind. Okay.
Hello again. I'm at Costco.
Yes.
All mute.
Yes. Costco and legislative action, they definitely go together. Plus samples. I hear there's good samples right now from my husband who went to Costco yesterday. All right.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Vanessa.
This is awesome. Okay. All right. We're going to start at around 12:03. Give people a couple of seconds to, I don't know, microwave their lunches. And then we'll get started. But while we are waiting, if everyone who is able to could put in the chat if you've ever met with an elected official or their staff before. Yes, we just did one. Me and Amanda just did one an hour ago, which went surprisingly well.
Well, with all the training.
Oh, I know.
But yeah.
And the easy templates that we are going to provide makes it very good. Okay, all right, one more minute, but yeah, if everyone can put in, it looks like we have a couple people who have done it a lot and then a couple people who've never done it. Very cool. Yeah. Yes, and we are recording because yes, there are definitely lots of people on vacation. Okay, all right, well, let's get started. So, hi everyone, I'm Shuin. If you've been attending these things, you'll know me, but I'm a family nurse practitioner here in the LA area. And today we have a really packed agenda. So we're going to be doing some quick introductions via the chat. We're going to go through kind of this campaign really quickly, do a little briefing about building relationships. We have a special guest who actually, I don't know, is Mayor Devin on? I don't know if he's on yet, but we have, you know, a real live mayor. So we're going to do a little Q&A with to get his perspective on being the elected official that is being talked with. And then we're going to do a group activity together. And then we're going to talk through, we have some amazing experts today who have done this a lot, and they're going to talk through kind of the actual, like, what is it like to meet with your elected official from our perspective, right? Being the health community member and talking to these elected officials and their staffers. So we're going to go through, you know, how to prepare for these meetings, what those meetings are actually like, have some real life, you know, perspective on what it's like and how to be successful. And then we're going to do a little breakout session to practice, and then we're going to go through next steps. So in the chat, if everybody could put in their name, their profession, and which city and county they're in, it would be great. All right. If you haven't answered the question about whether or not you've done a meeting with an elected official or their staffer, you can also answer it here. And let's see who we got. Ooh. Yay, we finally have some Southern California. Yes. And of course, our NorCal people. You guys always come in strong. That is very cool. I think the great thing about CHN is we have a whole variety of different health community members, health professions, always really fun. And of course, Flannery, our fearless coach for Macy and Cindy. All right. Aspiring family medicine doc, I like it. Okay. All right. Well, while people are putting it in, thank you so much. It's so great to see and hear. It's unfortunately, we do have a pretty packed agenda, so we don't get to hear everyone's voice right now. But I'm going to please continue to write these in. But for those of you that aren't aware, Cindy and I are CHN members, but we are also part of the Climate Health Organizing Fellowship. And this fellowship, we learned about how health professionals can create, structural change in the climate solutions that we all want. And so one really big takeaway from that was that we learned that health professionals are the most effective and trustworthy messengers for climate action. And this is definitely from my experience as well. But we also know that the vast majority of our peers are pretty silent on these issues. So we set up these trainings about, talking to your colleagues. And now today we're going to be talking about how to talk to your elected officials to support all of our CHN members in building relationships with each other, with our colleagues, and also our elected officials and their staffers. Okay. So really, what is that all about? We're really harnessing our resources. And what resource do we have? We have the health community in California, right? And all of the people that we work with, that we interact with, that we are in organizations with. So we are taking the health community in California here to get the power we need, which is organized people power, to make the change we want, which is very urgent climate solutions. And this translates into being able to call on each other and our coworkers to show up at legislative meetings like the one that Amanda and I were on this morning. We had 24 hours to pull together people. So it was really, really tight. But because of the relationships that we had built over the last several months, we were able to actually, get a pretty good showing. And, we are here to kind of open people's eyes on how climate change isn't about polar bears, but has a very real impact on health and well-being of our patients and our community. Okay, so I'm going to pass it on to C, who's going to give us a little brief talk about building relationships. Go ahead.
Thank you, Schwinn. And I'm C. Freeman, an adult and geriatric psychiatrist in Los Angeles. And as Schwinn was mentioning, we were participating in a fellowship. And in the fellowship, we learned that in the context of community organizing, building relationships is essential. So your goal is to be strategically intentional. You want to learn about one another in a way to make an exchange of interests, resources, and values. So, and ultimately, you want to commit to working together for a common purpose. So in the one-on-one meeting, the skill necessary it is the skill necessary to create the foundation of the relationship. So strategically, number one, you want to start with an attention catcher that immediately connects you. Margie, Ashley suggested that we should talk. And you want to establish an interest in the conversation. Ashley told me, you like me, are doing things in the climate health space, and I appreciate your willingness to chat. You want to explore perspectives with open-ended questions. I was hoping you could share with me how you became interested in climate health. And you want to remember you are purposeful and you're looking to make exchanges. Wow, I see that you're really good at connecting people. I'm good at putting together presentations. And remember, this is just not a one-night stand. You are really wanting to continue this relationship. You want to have a shared future. So you want your member to commit to your newly established relationship by at least continuing to talk. But we're going to ask more from our legislators, as we'll discuss later on.
Okay, thanks, C. So I actually don't know, was Devin able to join? Here, Devin, you there?
We can't tell if you're one of the phone numbers. Are you on? Okay, Schwinn, why don't you skip this and come back to it and I'll call him.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, mayors are probably very busy.
Certainly. So today we're going to be asking everyone to set up a meeting with their legislator. Our workshop today is perfectly timed because the legislator is in recess. And there's a great likelihood that your state assembly member or senator will be in their district office and will have time to meet. So now is the time to access them. Now, I want to do a quick walkthrough of how to find your elected official. So while I'm talking, Schwinn will be doing this on the screen, but also look in the chat for links. So the first thing you want to do is click on the link that's in the chat. And it will take you to this page. Once you're there in the box, scroll down and put in your address. And click search. And voila. You now know your state assembly and Senate legislators and your district numbers. Now make a note of your district numbers. Okay. Now we're going to put in the link, in the chat rather, another link. And if you would click that, add your name and your district number. And I'm going to give you a few moments to do that.
Yeah, I would just probably put your name first. So you claim a line.
Yeah. Oh, this is super. Oh, yeah.
We're all over the place.
Which means we have great representation.
Okay. All right. So while people are doing that, I'm trying to go back. Sorry. Second.
All right. While the rest of, so while you are putting your district numbers in, once that's done, we want you to go back to this page where you have pulled up your legislators, and on the assembly member, we want you to click on the assembly member's name. All righty. And that takes you to the page where you can scroll down and get their district office number. And you're going to need that office phone number for our exercise today. This is a great page, and for future reference, it has so much information based on that includes the committees that the legislator serves on, their campaign contributions, and how special interest groups rate them, like the California environmental voters. Okay. Right. Okay. So at this point, we want to make sure everybody has their assembly person's phone number, their district number. And if it turns out, did we have any information that people are in the same district? Is there any overlap?
Yes, we have two people who, Bill Pevick and Megan Shumway, are both in District 6 and 6.
Okay, so what we'll ask Bill and Megan if either one of you would get the phone number of your senator and call the senator's office instead of the assembly member's office.
Yeah, maybe Bill, if you could do the senator, and then Megan, you can do the assembly member. Okay.
And there are 3 people in the Senate District 7 that I'm in, and I am working on getting an appointment with that person, so maybe we can also collaborate.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, now, once you found the phone number, now comes time for, oh, we still have some people filling it out. Or are we done?
I think we can continue on while people are doing stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Now comes the script. And Shwin has provided a link. Do you have a link
Yes, I can put it in again. 1 second.
for this script? And basically you're going to let the person, whoever answers, I'm so-and-so, and identify yourself based on your area of expertise. And also in terms of who you are and your affiliation with Climate Health Now and why you're calling. You're going to be calling to set up a meeting to address climate health issues. And you want to use this guideline to help you with the call. And we do have some what ifs. You might get a voicemail or a host of things. And based on those what ifs, we have some alternative responses for you to give or ways that you can handle that.
Okay.
All right.
Right. So then we're gonna do, so everybody has a copy of, so I put in the link for the script. You guys now know where to put or where to get your phone numbers, right? So we're gonna do a group exercise. We have 5 minutes, and we would
I don't
every
know if sorry, I don't know if this makes a difference. Devin Murphy is joining. He's about to join.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know if you want to read it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. So, if it's okay, yeah, we're just gonna do this really quick and then we'll have Devin talk. Okay.
We have
so-
Devin talk first, Shuin, and then do that so that we can use this time maybe.
Oh,
Wow.
sure. Okay, all right. Is Devin on? Oh, he's on. Oh, okay. Sorry. 1 second. Last minute changes. All right, Devin, are you there? You able to-
I am. Hello, everybody.
Yay, thank you. Okay, so I would like to introduce everyone to our special guest today, Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Pinole, Devin Murphy. Devin is a Bay Area native and was elected to the Pinole City Council in 2020. And he, values participatory budgeting, citywide participatory budgeting process, small business growth, and progress on regional climate action. And he was recently honored by 350 Bay Area at their 4th annual Climate Justice Awards. Very, very cool. So hi, Devin. Did I miss anything?
Hi. No, that was great. Thank you so much. And hi, everybody. I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm so glad to be here. I will be honest, this is my vacation week, but if Amanda asked you to do something, you just do it. And I'm here to be here and totally excited about this conversation. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for spending your, this is power of relationships. My goodness. We get each other to do anything, even on vacation. But Devin, we'd like to ask you because, we're all health community members. So, in all of your discussions with your constituents, do you tend to hear much about the connection between climate change and health?
I do. I oftentimes hear it. So here's the thing, a lot of us are dealing, many of us on this call, many of us who aren't on this call, are dealing with the impacts of the climate crisis. And I think that oftentimes those impacts, especially in West Contra Costa County, are every day, and they're also normalized, which is a little scary, right? I think our opportunity comes to acknowledge that the climate crisis is imminent. We're talking about this IFCC deadline, but it's here now. And we've got to be honest about the impacts and the struggle that we all have together. Because even when one city is not dealing with floods, another city is dealing with extreme heat. When one city is not dealing with extreme heat, another city is dealing with, you know, contaminated water, right? And so I think one of our challenges is how to not normalize, how to connect in the moments of disaster, right? And be resilient to that. And
Yeah,
that's the health issue we're talking about.
yeah, exactly. Do you feel like your peers from other areas of California also make that connection? Because it's very clear, like you are an ally and you
Thank you.
definitely
Oh, thank you.
understand.
Yeah, I think there are some folks who are looking to think about health, climate justice, which is different, right, than health, and in terms of acknowledging inequities of the past and really delivering on resources, services um, for the future that also in some ways that also restore and repair the past. I think that we do have a lot of work to do. I think a lot of folks are interested in climate action and, you know, electric vehicle charging and, you know, innovative technology and climate tech solutions for the future. We want to make sure that we center certainly the workers and families who have been at the front lines of um, heavy industry and oil reliance as we think about, you know, the future representation. So that means, you know, when we talk about who we're electing into public office, thinking about ways that they are uplifting frontline families and workers, right, who are deeply impacted by the oil industry, the fossil fuel industry. And I think part of the challenge is that we have a lot of political education to do within our own communities. And I think that's somewhat of a challenge for a lot of folks to acknowledge the things that we don't know, right? And the things that we're really growing on.
Yeah, I completely agree about elevating those, especially the ones that are the people who are most impacted. And a lot of those are, our patients, right? And
Yeah.
so from what role do you think the healthcare community, like people on this call and their colleagues, can play in discussing climate policy?
Yeah, I mean, getting out the information about, I think a critical role of the healthcare community and science overall is sharing the information. Um, you know, the challenging part is sharing in a fun way, right? I mean, there's so much around social media and even technology that makes information dissemination both challenging and exciting. And I recognize that. A little bit about my work. I do and supported nonprofits and foundations for the last decade, really with like narrative building and coalition building and you know, message development and alignment. And one of the challenging things for especially industries like healthcare that have been here for a long time is ironically they've been here so long, but the challenge is getting out the information and not just getting it out, but getting it out with the innovation of today. Right. And I say that because it's like Facebook is like still here, but I know like my little brother will be like, Devin, nobody does Facebook. We all are on TikTok. All are on Discord. And I'm like, oh, but I'm, you know, and I'm 29 years old, right? Like I have a long, again, this goes back to what I have to learn and what I have to grow, right? We all have to think about the innovation of information dissemination and how we get the word out as much as the word itself, which we all know is like imperative and critical. And I think that's what's exciting about this moment. It's like if we can do that and we can think about the ways that maybe we go to the grocery store and we communicate with our peers, or go to our favorite beauty salon and communicate with our peers, or maybe we don't communicate with our peers, which is part of the challenge too, is like thinking about the ways in which we normalize again in the pandemic and with our, somewhat fear of violence sometimes for certain communities. How do we retain communication, and then how are we innovative about those platforms? And I think the healthcare community is pivotal to that. I mean, a lot of us, even though we're not all insured or we all don't go to the doctor because we're not able to, many of us are tied to the healthcare industry. And so how do we think about the innovative technologies within the healthcare industry? And without it, that we can think about to connect with each other. And I think as an elected, I'm certainly committed to that. If folks are interested in that type of work, one of the things I've seen, but challenges has been like the healthcare industry and the workers, right? In which, a lot of the challenges are healthcare. Some certain, businesses in healthcare are making, billions or millions of dollars. And so how do we support the workers, inpatients, and the workers getting paid as much as they deserve, and the patients also making sure they're a part of that advocacy, right? Like they, knowing that we serve and we are serviced by so many beautiful people, making those connections. I think within that, we can understand how to communicate with each other better too.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I think that I didn't think about this, but as we're building relationships with our colleagues and trying to bring them along to advocate, bringing along our patients as well, right? Is
Yeah.
really important. And also, and not just maybe like thinking, like the doctors are always like kind of recruiting other doctors, but also every level of the healthcare workplace is really important, and having their voices heard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when we're advocating for a cause, so like climate, health, and equity to you and other elected officials, like, do you have any recommendations for us for what works or what doesn't work?
Yeah. Well, I think numbers work, right? I mean, not to be heavy on numbers, but I think just knowing large stats that can be connected to people and making sure, listen, I am in Florida with one of the biggest environmental justice advocates, Valencia Gunder, and she's like right behind me. I want to show everybody this. I'm sorry. I know this is like not like part of this, but I have to. So Valencia Gunder is starting the Freedom Lab, which is in Miami, Florida. And it's based in an environment in Florida where heavy on Black and Latino communities, and also impacted a lot by heavy floods and of course the sea level rise. And so she's a good friend of mine. We're part of this ecosystem called the Movement for Black Lives, Black Hive, which is focused on organizing 200 Black environmental and climate justice leaders. And so I came to visit her as part of, this is what I like, this is my vacation. I know y'all, right? Totally nerd, totally just, it's okay. I'm okay with that. But she just said hi to me and we're about to go to lunch together. But I'm so sorry. I got excited to see her. I think one thing that we can do is I think we need to, number one, we really need to have the numbers. I think we, especially local electeds who are starting to this, new to this, still organizing and open to co-governance, but also just new to what impact, like what information we should receive to make a decision. We actually need to hear from you all more. Like we actually need to sit down, have a conversation, have another conversation to follow up that conversation, and then also need you all to be a part of the policy making work that determines what the essential outcome is. That's a lot of work. And I recognize that as an elected who doesn't get, a lot of people think a mayor would get a lot of money. I get $500 per month. I'm okay with saying that that's public taxpayer dollars, but we actually need that support system of co-governance in order to prosper, in order to change things in our city for the long run. I would also say that, part of our opportunity together is thinking about like how do we build trust together in our communities, right? Like I talked about what platforms matter. Like imagine a world where during a 2024 or 2022 election, and no matter, let's say, no matter what your partisanship is, Democrat, Republican, Green Party, let's just cut out partisanship for now. Imagine a world where doctors and scientists are going door to door talking about the impacts of the climate crisis, about impacts of environmental injustice within your community. We oftentimes go to doctors, right? I'll go to my doctor at Kaiser, schedule a meeting. Sometimes it's hard to schedule a meeting. No shade to Kaiser. Sometimes it's just a long time, right? My dentist, my orthodontist, I go to them. Imagine a world where we came to the door to door. Imagine a world where we talk to people about why it's important to vote based on the impacts they're dealing with their water, extreme heat, flooding, natural disasters in their neighborhood, right? How impactful that would be. So in some ways, we have to create the technology platforms or the communication platforms together. And it could be as simple, when I say platform, it could be as simple as going door to door. It's just the way in which we go door to door, which has been a way that historically we've organized in our communities, but maybe it's something new that we have to touch on, given again, like a global pandemic and you know, perhaps a perception of a rise in violence in our community. How do we kind of engage in a different way? So I think we're looking, again, just to sum up, I think as local municipal leaders, especially, we're looking for innovative ways to co-govern. And that especially means with industry, not necessarily fossil fuel industry, not necessarily oil or natural gas industry, but healthcare industry, clean tech industry. We're even looking for landscaping industry in terms of thinking about drought resilient nature and educational programs, right? The electric industry in terms of building and electrifying our buildings, right? We're looking for kind of new governance models or co-governance models in that work.
This is so inspiring.
Oh my God, I'm glad. I'm so glad.
True. I mean, I love this vision of co-governance, and
I'm
it
so glad.
is really wonderful to hear that our voices matter. You know,
Oh yeah.
a lot of times people, you know, when I talk to my colleagues about this, it's like, oh, well, like it's not really our lane to talk about climate, right? And it's like, wait, no, but it really is. And so here
Right.
say that makes me hopeful.
Oh yeah, and it so is. You know, my mother, I tell this to few, but one of the things that's really impacted me around the environmental crisis has been my mother being diagnosed with breast cancer. And she was looking to doctors and you know, physicians to understand both her current state of being cancer impacted and the trauma perhaps after and during that can cause. But she was also looking to physicians to understand the symptoms that could have made her experience such a trauma. And for someone who didn't smoke cigarettes in her life, she was very confused about where that could have come from. And the power behind physicians not only telling her her future, but also exploring the data that says that possibly, you know, we don't all have to be cancer impacted, but a lot of the systems that exist make us so, right? Whether it's our water, our dirty air, you know, the environment we have, right, and the land around us. I think that's a really important connection. I was looking to data from, I think, Courage Campaign California that actually said scientists and healthcare workers are the most trusted party, if you will. I don't know if it said party, but the term was most trusted. I mean, of the people who trusted things in California, healthcare workers and scientists were the most trusted sources of the climate crisis. Next to that was oil industry and corporations. So it's really ironic, like we have a choice right now. We need you. I'm telling you that, like, elected officials are not the most trusted with climate crisis, like you all are. And then it comes to the oil industry, which I'll let you all decide if you think they should be trusted. And then it's us. So I really, yeah, I cannot elevate this enough. You all are not only the most trusted, but you all are most of the most helpful in terms of developing real tangible policy, because we allow ourselves to listen to your stats, your data, and it pulls on us as elected to be able to actually implement the policy and change the political mandate of electeds who may not believe us because they see you all as trusted.
Exactly. Yeah, no, thank you so much, Devin. Thank you for sharing
course.
your perspective. And I really appreciate you taking the time from your vacation to do this.
Of course.
We are going to go through some nuts and bolts of like talking to our elected officials. I think you want to have lunch with your friends, so I'll let you go. But thank you so much for joining, and we'll hopefully have more conversations in the future. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, and good luck to everybody. I would love to be in partnership. I think Amanda and I think some folks on this call have my email. Feel free to use it. Would love to stay connected. And Pinole is waiting for, I mean, we have a great healthcare industry in Pinole, but again, we're waiting for folks to mobilize and organize. So would love to meet for coffee and things like that in Pinole. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you. All right. So we're going to move things around a bit because we are trying to work around people's schedules. And so now we're going to talk a little bit more about actually like what the meetings with elected officials are like. And so actually, Jonathan, I know you have to go to OB Clinic really soon. So if you could actually talk us through some of your experiences. See, you want to do the intro?
No, go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan. You see him pronouns. I'm current fourth-year medical student and did some climate policy work when I was a student in New Jersey, kind of like fighting for a carbon tax or kind of pulling back and realizing the equity implications of that, but have had like a lot of meetings with legislators then. And then also more recently have supported like SB 260 in California, which is requiring large corporations to report their greenhouse gas emissions. So also meeting with some legislators on that front. Yeah, so this is a great template that you have on the slide right here. So like greetings and intros, the people that you'll be speaking with and calling with, whether it's staffers or legislators, are people who like you probably like work long and difficult hours from 9 to 5 and then probably go home and then work even further to prepare for the next day. So that's something to bear in mind, like kind of no matter the background of the elected official that you're speaking with, just it makes such a big difference, just like showing up with respect, showing appreciation, and just like being thankful for their time. That like really goes a long way. So like as an example, one thing we met with Assembly Member Kevin Kiley's office last year on the SB 260 effort. And there aren't a lot of policy priorities I personally agree with Assembly Member Kiley, but we're still able to say thank you for fighting for clean water for your community, or like thank you for trying to impose like term limits on legislators. There are at least like some kind of common ground that you can find with whoever you're talking to. So just a simple thank you really goes a long way. Yeah, so introducing yourself, appreciation, then going into your framing, background information, and message. And this is really where like telling your story, telling your patient's stories can be very compelling. And then going into your specific ask. Please keep it simple. For example, for SB 260 is a bill for large corporations to report their greenhouse gases. It's a common sense bill increasing transparency for public health, just like a nutrition fact label. That's it. Like it doesn't have to get more complicated than that. We are all very technical people and can go more into the details if necessary, but keeping it high level and simple and focusing on the framing and the ways that it addresses the values of your legislator. So if your legislator's all out for climate justice, that's great. Talk about climate justice. If your legislator is all out for, fiscal responsibility, like decreasing regulation, even leveling the playing field, which there will be legislators like that, talk about the ways that your bill addresses those issues. So really like know your audience and speak to your audience's viewpoints. And the last thing, of course, is like thank you, mentioning your leave behinds, share your leave behinds, have it be referenced, and like follow up in your follow-up emails. Taking kind of like throughout this conversation, talking, making your ass, all that, kind of like what C was saying, taking some time to listen to who you're talking to can really go a long way. When I was doing policy work in New Jersey, I spoke with like 3 different Republican legislators kind of from 3 different areas of the state. And they all had like 3 wildly different like viewpoints on the policy we were talking about. One was very pro energy efficiency, like retrofits. One was against any kind of taxation, but was supportive of like coastal resilience protections. And one was for just funding like a transition to clean energy. So like it can really vary on who you're talking to. Just keep an open mind, listen, keep it simple, and make sure to follow up as well. That's all I have. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Jonathan.
Thanks. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. But thank you so much for sharing your experience. All right. Yes, you do rock. Okay. So I think actually, we were going to, hold on.
Can we have Karen speak next to kind of tie it together with what Jonathan said before we go on to other things?
Yeah. Karen, if you could.
Yeah, I think we're a little behind on time, so I just have a few points. I actually think Devin and Jonathan covered a lot of this. Because of Devin's timing, we had to move a little bit different order. But I think you've gotten the message that we need to be prepared with an ask, and we need to be prepared for really understanding what our legislatures are working on and what it is that we're going to ask and what bills we're advocating for. Amanda has some great follow-ups that she's sending out about a couple of bills that are really important to healthcare workers and families and schools. And so I think that would be a really important thing to focus on. Remember where we are in the legislative season. It's at the very end. There's a few bills left that are pending. Some will move to 2-year bills, and then they go to the governor's desk in the fall. So I think we want to use legislators' time very effectively in knowing what items they're working on, what pieces of legislation they're working on, and try to focus on those. And I think that would be the most efficient. And also, I think one thing that we haven't talked about in the call so far is really patient stories. I think perhaps if maybe Jonathan mentioned that, but I think we have a lot that we can give with our patient stories. For instance, if you're going to advocate for school legislation, then we can talk about the number of asthma days, the number of lost days in school. That's related to air quality. It's related to indoor and outdoor air quality in schools. So think of your particular practice, the area of climate change that you're going to focus on. And those stories often are carried forward. I've seen that happen many times in the meetings that I've been in. They're carried forward onto the legislative floor. So focus on that. And I think, remember that all the work that we do in health, it has to be at the policy level in order for us to be effective. So I do think that relating our asks to overall healthcare outcomes for children and adults, and also just to public healthcare costs. I think we were given some good examples on the call already of how you can save much money with a little bit of work in terms of moving forward with certain issues. So I think that's something that I don't often see in the discussion in the news or the legislative arena. And if we think about public health care cost, all bills are evaluated for their cost savings. So I think we need to connect those two dots. And we as healthcare providers are the population to do that. We are the key providers that can make that, put that message together. And the last thing, because I think we're short on time, is you have to be patient as an advocate in the legislative, with your legislators. Policy is a very incremental process. Sometimes legislators have been working on a bill that they wanted to get through 2 years ago, and they're still working on it, and they're so successful in the 4th year they're working on it. So your advocacy and your relationship with your legislators needs to be patient, and it needs to be persistent. And that good patience pays off in terms of good policy. So don't get discouraged on the first couple of visits if things don't pass. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep trying, as the legislators do. So I think that covers it for me. I can take questions in the chat if anybody has any. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I was just talking on mute. So anyways, but we're going to do a little bit of a group exercise right now, but thank you so much, Karen. So if everybody could actually go back to that grid that you all put your Assembly and Senate numbers on, and also you can go back to that page where you had pulled up your Assembly members person's phone number. And so then that one, it looks like this. So you have a phone number, okay? And then also we have, I'm going to put it again in the chat, the script. Okay, so we would like everybody for the next couple of minutes to just call. And your success, I think a lot of people do end up asking for an email to request or something like that. But the whole exercise is really just to see, how do you make a appointment with your elected official? Some of you might actually make an appointment, which would be amazing. In my experience, it hasn't been that easy, but you at least get the email of the person that you should be able to talk to set up a meeting. So everybody, if everyone is on mute, I'm going to put a little timer on the screen and then go and call. And you can, yes, and you can leave a message because yes, they might be eating lunch, which we should all be doing too. All right. I'm expecting to see some filling out of column F, E, F, and G.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. I'm
I really hope no one heard my siren. I think I see a couple people on the phone. Just feel free to mute your computer. Because I think there's still some people who are calling. But there are some calls. Good job, guys. It's not that scary. Okay. I think we do need to save some time for closing and stuff. So Cindy, can you actually go through some of this? The closing and the asks, because we have emphasized that that is also very important.
Yes, I can do that. Are we going to let people get off, or are we going to jump into?
I think because we don't have very much time, I think people are just going to have to like mute us until they're off their call. And then they can listen in afterwards. But we will have all of this information we have a whole sheet that you guys can follow along after. It's going to get emailed to everybody afterwards in case anyone's missing stuff. So yeah, but I think we need to at least get on with this part.
Okay. All right. So I'm Cindy. I'm also in the Climate Health Organizing Fellowship. I'm a midwife in Berkeley. So since our primary goal is building relationships with the elected officials, that's really an important goal of our campaign so that we can really make a movement. We're really making a movement to make change. And as we've seen just on this call, how important relationships are. So part of our goal is just to make this a relationship with both of our elected officials. It also, in that, we're trying to make it clear that it's a two-way street of mutual support and accountability. So in that light, we're going to offer, part of this, we want to offer to them our support. So if they have questions around climate and health and related issues, we can support them with that and give them resources. And we're going to ask them to commit to addressing climate, health, and equity in any policy that they make, and that they'll meet with us again, because we're trying to build this ongoing relationship. And having it's this balance between making a relationship, but also having a specific ask. And the specific ask can help them really understand the relevance, I think, of our visit and help them know where to go next and what to work on. And so I think one thing that we thought we could start with was, and Shuan, you're going to show this, that you can check on the website to see if they've signed the fossil fuel money pledge to have no money from fossil fuels. And then you can look there and you can actually look up who has signed it or not by doing a search and seeing if your elected officials are there. And then you can thank them if they did, and that's a great starting place and showing appreciation. And if they did not, it's a really good chance for a discussion about it and a lead into, what are things that are blocking them? What's the resistance? What ways can you connect and maybe help them get more information so they might move towards that? So that's all I have for that slide, so that we can have some time maybe for the breakouts. I'll go on to the next one, perhaps, if that seems right, Shuan and C.
I just want to do one quick little plug though, because CHN does actually have some bills. So if you feel like the fossil fuel money pledge, this is one option. We also have some CHN backed bills, and you're also going to get this in the email afterwards. But we have two bills, AB 579 and SB 394, that we have health talking points about. So just depending on, so right now, just a quick thing is if you're talking to your assembly person, then it's actually going to be the Senate, what's it called? The SB 394 that you would ask them about supporting when it gets put up to vote. And then if it's AB 579, so if you're talking to your Senate person, then you should talk about AB 579. They're going to be voting on that. But we will also pair you up with coaches so that we can kind of prep you for, if you do decide to do a bill as your ask, we can prep you to make sure you're picking the right one. I just wanted to make sure that that part was clear, that we can help with that. Okay. Go ahead, Cindy. Sorry.
No, it's okay. The coaches comes a little bit later too. So one thing you can do when you're there, as you're leaving, please ask for a business card. Try to take a picture with them, with hopefully your whole group there. And then we can send it to Climate Health Now to post. And then it's really great to have a follow-up. So an email or a handwritten note, if you still can do that. And just, thank them again, thank them for their time, recap a little bit what you talked about, answer any questions. Maybe they came up with some questions or wanted some more information you could send. And then just remind them about the ask. So to whatever the ask is, whether it's just to meet again and to, think about climate and health, that might be all you can do to get a foot in the door. specifically about the fossil fuels or about some of the specific bills that CHN is supporting.
I just want to address, because I'm seeing it in the chat too, a lot of questions about what can we and can we not do because of our nonprofit status. Very reasonable. Thank you guys for asking. So we are a C3, we have C3 fiscal sponsorship, and we are building up the arm of our C4, namely meaning we have to fund it so that the staff time that goes into all of the support that it takes to get this all teed up is coming through money that's been specifically designated for C4 purposes, but we are not there yet, hopefully soon. So for the purposes of this, what we really the focus is on building a relationship, flexing these muscles, getting to know who these people are. It is entirely legitimate to mention that these are the two bills that our organization is working on. We have our health talking points. That just cannot be the whole purpose of the visit, but it is certainly okay to mention them. Hopefully that answers that.
Yeah. And then are there any other questions? We still have a couple of minutes, and what was it? We were originally going to do breakout groups, but I don't think we have time for that. But I think that we've heard from a lot of really great speakers today. But does anybody actually have any questions? Let me see how everybody did. Ooh, we got a lot of tool to schedule on website and getting emails, right? Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh.
This is Ashley.
Wait, Mike,
Is it okay time?
Mike has his hand up first. Ashley, hold on one sec.
Okay, this is really not a question as much as a comment, and it was mentioned before, but I would just want to really underline it. Do your homework first, before going to the legislator's office. Not only like, have they signed the no fossil fuel pledge, you need to know either to thank them or to urge them to do it. You don't want to be asking them and then they go, oh, well, we've already signed that. And you also want to know how they've generally voted on environmental bills in the past. If you're talking to someone who's got like 100% record from Cal Environmental Voters, you're going to be thanking them for what they've been doing. And again, when you come in as an educated constituent, the staff or the legislator knows that you've done their homework and you know what they've been doing.
Completely agree. It shows that you at least did some work too.
Did Ashley want to speak?
Yeah, if I could, so would this be an okay time to ask? And I'm limited on my phone right now, but if you are willing to, flex this old or new muscle and have this meeting with your elected, could you raise your hand in Zoom or come off mute and say yes? And then like if Amanda or Schwinn, if you could write down, because then we're going to follow up with you and make this, a really comfortable thing to do. So, but it'd be great to just really clearly see like who's with us, because it's going to be really fun, but we want to know who wants to work with us. So could you raise your hand if you're willing to commit to this month?
Yay. Oh, this is so weird with the Zoom thing and how it automatically puts your hand up. This is awesome. Thank you. All right, Amanda, I hope you're not jotting this down because I've got too many screens open.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's close out this meeting. What was it? So Cindy, can you finish this up?
Yes, everybody's done a lot of the work for me. We were going to do a hand raising, so that's great. We've done that. And some people have a lot of experience, some have less experience. I have never had any experience with this, so I am on a learning curve and I'm very excited to do it with this group. So just want to say that the one-on-ones with the colleagues is a way to build your group, because going alone is one thing and it's great, but if you can actually have a group go with you, I think it's more powerful. And so please do your one-on-ones with your colleagues and see if you can get people to go with you. And then we're going to provide coaches to help you along the way. And the coaches are going to help you. Hopefully they're in your region if possible, help you with the scheduling, help you with planning for the meeting and the background that we need to do, and help you form that group so that you can have, a bigger group come when you go. And then we welcome you to come to the celebration, which will be a debrief, which will be on September 13th at noon. And I think someone was going to put the link in the chat, and we will send it to you as well, so that we are now exactly at 1. So thank you so much for being here. We're so happy to do this work with you.
Thank you so much. You will get the links in an email. It's too much. There's too much. So, all right. But thank you everyone for participating today. We hope this was really helpful, and we are here for any questions, but we will also be connecting with you one-on-one. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome job,
And
Cindy and
yeah,
Swin. Woohoo!
awesome.
Yay.
Alrighty. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.